Right.
You must have an open heart. And I also believe that whenever I hear, especially in America, because we're not as Islamophobic as people are in America, because we've got laws here, you can't go out and say certain things, and you've got things like that. But when certain things about what's happening in the Middle East, which is not very
Right.
complex, and all these things, it is that I want to tell you that your work and your work does somebody is so good and so brilliant. And you must tell your brothers, you must tell your sisters that the work of Islam and everything else is so influential upon people who are actually not Muslims today.
Right. I really, really appreciate your valuable comment, because people like you inspire us. There is a gross misunderstanding. People are not looking into the real message of Islam, and they are just giving in to what they see in the TV, in the newspaper, and they are not deciding for themselves. And these are the platforms where we can share information and look into each other to see what's inherently Islam teaching. Is this something foreign to Western values, or is it in coherence with Western values? That's important, because if I live in America, there are about unofficial numbers of 10 or 11 million Muslims live in America. And there is a Pew Research which says that Muslims are on a higher scale than the national average of making money and living a good life. And living a good life is a holistic life, starting with your spiritual growth, your physical growth, and also how much you're giving back to the community. In Ramadan, it's very interesting you brought Ramadan and how it is peaceful. The other side of the Ramadan, the research was talking about Muslims gave close to $1 billion in charity just in this year in America alone. And that money is going all in different corners of the country. I mean, 70% of the money is being spent even within the country from organizations like Islamic Relief Helping Hand, the notable charity like Islamic Relief USA. I mean, they are giving back to the community where poverty is actually not talked about in the media. There are organizations called Muslims Giving Back. They go out every single night to Times Square here in Manhattan. Every night at 10:30, you'll see 150 people lined up to get food, which is freshly cooked by our own hands with our volunteers. They cook and they present this nice warm meal to the people, and you won't see it in American media talked about it unless a local news picks it up. So that's the kind of the path that we are taking. That yes, we have years and years of vision left to spread the goodness which has been there for a millennium. Prophet Muhammad, the U.S. Embassy says that he is one of the best lawgiver, Prophet Muhammad, and he came in a time when barbarism and tribalism and just utter warfare among their own fractions were at rampant, and he transformed people to a much civilized in terms of spiritually caring for themselves and others. And I can't express you how happy I am being a Muslim myself, because I became Muslim 8 years back. I grew up in India in a Hindu family, and I came to the United States in 2007. I personally was not into spiritualism. When I was going into college education, I went to one of the well-known engineering college in India, and for about 4 or 5 years, this is my personal life, I completely stayed as an atheist, and that is a disease growing in majority of the Western countries. that people are becoming more and more selfish. I mean, they are completely thinking about own selves and not being accountable that there is also a higher power. You know, deep down their heart, every person knows there is a higher power. You know, and they can't completely deny it. Yet they are not seeing that transforming lives. And so I also went down that route. Personally, for 4 years, I just turned in an atheist. Oh, I'm just looking into science, all the modern things happening. But, you know, soon after, when you grow a little more older, then you can see how feeble you are. You can see how much of necessity of help as a individual you need it from people, from the nature, from the just from the society itself. You are such a dependent animal that the only being who is independent is the one who created all of it. And deep down in our hearts, we realize there is this creator that who is trying to communicate to us, trying to help us, trying to love us and show this care to us. And that's what a Muslim should stand for, you know. And I really appreciate that you called us. I can ask you two personal questions if you don't mind. Uh, um, do you personally believe there is a higher being? You don't need to call God. Yeah.
Whichever way you want to say it, I believe that there is a stratosphere of consciousness that links us all as human beings, and that stratosphere, maybe you wish to call it God or whomever, it is there. It is a link that links us to the planets in the universe. It is the same grain of sand in the Sahara links us to the moon, the sun. Do you understand it? We are part of the same entity, and if we are the same entity, then we must, we must rise above our material circumstances, and that's what I truly believe. I don't think that's the wrong. I mean, how do you say that? I do believe there is something there.
That is beautiful. And the second part is that once we recognize there is this higher being and who put us here, who created all of us here, and given this free thought process to do benefit to ourselves and to people around us, do you think this whatever you call the force is not a communicating force and he just abandoned us after creating it, or he's exactly right? So
exactly, because I've survived cancer. I'm actually a survivor of cancer, and I nearly died. You see, and there is something in when you face death, when you actually face when you're told you've got 3 months to live. That was a long time ago. I'm still alive, and then you must either put your hands into the great Father and hope for the best, obviously, but if it's your time to go, you must accept it, because it's your time to go. The time on earth is finished. Your job on earth is gone. And I believe that some people are chosen to go through life, to have the slings and arrows of misfortune, to quote William Shakespeare. But if you come through it and you understand that the consciousness that you either develop a conscious awareness of something the other, then that is your path to salvation. Because once you understand that there is something called destiny and fate, and we will have it in them.
Right, absolutely.
I've done many things. I'll tell you something else as well, my friend. I'll tell you because you're a Muslim and everything else. When I got my cancer, it was long, 18 years ago now, but I took time to study Roman history. I always wanted to study Roman history, so I used to watch documentaries, read books, blah, 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 course, when you talk about Roman history, you cannot talk about Roman history without talking about Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've listened to things about Jesus and everything else, right? And I must conclude to you, and I confess this to you, a Muslim, I confess, Jesus was not the Son of God. Jesus was not a God. Jesus was a man, and he was a prophet, a very renowned prophet. But unfortunately, the Greeks and the Romans took his word and twisted it.
Right. It's so true. Right.
And I truly, truly believe it. And I truly believe that the doctrines of Jesus were manipulated and changed for a Greco-Roman centric view of the world.
Correct. Absolutely.
If I could tell Christians that half of what you're listening to reading is actually mumbo jumbo, right?
Yep.
That actually, if you go down to his if you go down to his Gospels and you listen, because they've been hidden, but they cannot hide everything in the Bible. They leave little chinks out. They go, right, okay, so Jesus said that. Why did he say that? I ask every Christian, I say, find in the Bible where Jesus condemns slavery, right? And the Christians will say, he must have done. Find the quote where he condemns all slavery. And there's not one quote where he condemned, I believe Muhammad condemned slavery.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you brought the character of Jesus, upon whom the peace and blessings of God. As a Muslim, we are just talking about the higher being, the power that we all look up to, and which is a communicating force. He loves, cares. He also wishes all of us to be connected to him. He always constantly sends this radiomagnetic, or whatever you call this, thought process into our brains. It's people who either process them and use it for better, or they suppress it, tranquilize it, and they just live like an animal just to go eat, have entertainment, sex, and die. This is a choice that a human being does. Now, the interesting thing that when you brought about the character of Jesus and the mighty messengership or the prophethood of these men, that is the link. That is the link that this higher being is trying to communicate to us, that look, you human beings, we created you weak and somebody who would make mistake and forget. But don't worry about it. I am here to send you a teacher every time to every nation to remind you. Just like as a student, I was going to school, I would just love to slack out, because that's natural human tendency, that I don't want to toil. I don't want to suffer. I don't want to labor. And that's how human beings have created. But the warning and the reminders are for benefit. And these teachers came down with that message to live a lifestyle to show us how can we care ourselves in around us. That was the primary job of these men of God. We call them prophets or messengers. But the unfortunate part, that the ignorance of people can turn to a level where they take these very men and call them gods. And the point is that none of these men of God came down to divide you and me based on different religions. You get the point, right? The religions were created out of ignorance of men who didn't perceive the real teaching of these men, of these prophets. So Jesus didn't come down to divide people who were there before and call themselves a whole different religion. They were with the same message. The message of Jesus was exactly the same as Moses, saying we are here, that we're from one source, we're going to go back, and there is an accountability process. And that's the same message you will find in Muhammad, upon whom be peace, that there is no object that I surrender to and I bow down to except to the Creator. And that empowers me, that frees me from any bondage, that frees me from any servitude to any created object and link me directly to my Creator. And that is what the foundation of Islam, that it calls for the universality of the message of all the prophets. And I want to ask you to ponder for a few seconds and answer me the second question I wanted to ask you since then, that would you have difficulty accepting that all these messengers, prophets, came with the same message, that we submit to none but one Creator?
Yes, I agree. I agree with that statement. I totally agree. I just find that obviously over the years and other influences have influenced the church, the Catholic Church or whatever, and once you start taking away the saints and the relics and the bits and pieces, it's a great correlation between you and the Creator. It's between you and Him, and it's only your heart. It's within your heart. You must know. You must be pure. Right. That's what I see. I see there's only a direct line, and I see it every day. I see it every day in the lives of Muslims. I see Muslim people. My dentist is a Muslim. My hair barber is a Muslim. You know what I mean? All my shops are run by Muslims. I have Muslim friends. I don't see a difference in us as human beings, and I don't. And when I see somebody who lives in virtue, and I see that they have a discipline, and I can see how that discipline affects them and their lives. And I must tell you that this area where I live in, it's one of the safest areas you can live in.
Wow.
Because of the Muslims.
Wow, amazing.
And I say this, I've lived in London all my life. I've actually lived in New York. I lived in the Lower East Side. And people, and this was in the early 80s, and it was, it was rough down there. It was rough. I've lived in ghettos, my friend. Where I live now is not a ghetto. It's a very pleasant area. It's in the middle of London. It's a beautiful part of London.
Beautiful.
But the road I used to live on used to be a very rough road. I mean, the actual people, the criminals, drugs, alcoholism, all this.
Wow.
But where I live, it's those sort. It's become, a lot of people, a lot of Iraqi refugees. The roads first started to be turned more Arabic in the 1970s when Lebanese people turned up and started opening restaurants.
Interesting.
This whole road is a road where you smoke shisha and you get shawarmas and kebabs and everything else. So it's a Lebanese road.
It's very tasty, huh?
Fun?
It's very tasty, the kebabs and the shawarmas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I've got Arabic food, I've got Middle Eastern food around me all the time. Right. I have all these. So I listen to Arabic every day. Everybody speaks Arabic.
Nice. Well, my brother.
I live in this.
Right.
I live in this area, and I have done for 18 years.
That's so cool.
And I tell you, my heritage is Spanish, so I look. And I tell them, the Arabs were in Spain, so I have Arab DNA. And I'm often mistaken for an Arab, you see.
Wow, that's interesting. Because my wife is from, she grew up in Brooklyn, but her parents are from Guatemala. And, yes, and she became Muslim 3 years back. And that's the whole thing that we sense in her whole entire family. In fact, her father's name is Osman, and it's an Arabic name, but I didn't get your name, sir. What's your name?
Sorry, my name's Ricky.
Ricky. All right.
I mean, I was born, but Ricky's my name.
Okay. You can call me. You can call me Abdullah, and
Abdullah.
Right. my Indian name is Chandrajit, and after I became Muslim, I am known mostly like Muslims know me as Abdullah. I mean somebody who is uh, in constant servitude to God. That's the meaning of the name. Anyway, I was actually trying to get some thought process from you from the second question, that after we understood there is this higher power, and which is a communicating and in always in constant link to its creation, to you, Rick, to Ricky and myself, and also we understood that the men of the guard who were inspired with the message to show us how to live is what they were the primary, the forerunners in submitting themselves to the will of God, or in Arabic means Muslim, the one who submits to the will of God, and in a constant process of submission to the God. So if my desire tells me that I want to go have this alcohol today, or sleep with this woman today, or do that thing today, but I listen to the higher power, and I put that in precedence, and I do not do those do not do those things which can harm my personal health and the health of the society. That's what is the teachings of the prophets, right? And the commonality of all of their teachings, you take it from the time of Adam, Noah, Abraham, David, Solomon, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad. They all went through the same phase, a phase of calling people to this goodness, to this healthy lifestyle. But then you will find criticisms from the wealthy, from the powerfuls, from the rich in the society. They will always go against and criticize, or even try to harm physically to the prophets and messengers. This is a constant phenomenon, and there's nothing new about it. And that happens to the same thing about the people who try to emulate the lifestyle of these prophets. They are also challenged, they are also criticized, they are also talked down in the media, everywhere else, and which is happening today, especially with Muslims, and in a wider scale. If you see that, a person trying to live a good life, dress modestly, not drink alcohol, and he can easily be labeled as extremist and terrorist, and acts like prevent, and all those things come in. But that's a whole second tangent. The thing that I want to bring from you, the thing that I want to bring from you, would you like to follow all these prophets and live like that?
Well, I'd like to, I'd like to live in virtue. I like to live. Not too many details about my life, but I try not to harm people. I try not. I don't lie. I will not lie. I will not be angry with people. I have patience, and
Beautiful.
I have love in my heart. It may not be physical love. I don't have physical love, but I have love for everybody.
Beautiful.
So following it.
But Ricky, all these virtues that we see, they are the byproducts of in what shape is my heart. If you shape your heart with goodness, these will be the byproducts. And shaping your heart into goodness is to link to its creator, to its source, and following the messengers. So I openly ask the question at this time that I don't know, it might sound strange to you, and don't take me wrong, would you become Muslim if somebody offers you that, like the prophets were Muslim?
For everything that I say this, I don't mean this in a pejorative way. I mean that you people, for everything you have, for your people you have. I mean, I don't. I'm a poor man. I live on welfare. I must tell you this as well. I'm a moderate man. I mean, I do some work in music and everything else, but I'd say that the point of me becoming a Muslim, to be quite frank, isn't too far away.
Right.
But, and it's not that I'm questioning it. It's not that. I'll be very frank with you, right?
Right.
It is. Do I have time? I know it sounds crazy, but do I have time? Now, if I did submit to Islam and become a Muslim, that would take a lot of devotion.
And I'll pause you. I'm sorry about it to interrupt you. I'll give you an example from the time of Prophet Muhammad. A man comes to him, and he's actually a Bedouin in the sense who lives deep down in the deserts, who's very rough, right? And he is a constant alcoholic. And Ricky, you are far ahead of it. You're trying to live a good life, staying away from alcohol and all the vices. And he approaches Muhammad to find his message. What Muhammad is coming up with? What's his message? And he finds it completely relevant to his life, that he wants to become someone like that. That he wants to known as that I am from one creator, and I want to submit to all his men who came with the goodness. And Muhammad told him, say ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. That means you testify there is no deity worthy of worship except one true Almighty God, and you testify that the messengers were slaves and prophets of God. And he said, what about my alcohol? And I'm very much addicted to it. And this is where the crux of the conversation. Muhammad told him that you take the first step. God is there to take 10 steps close to you. If you reach out with one arm, he will extend with you 10 length of it. If you take a step towards him, he will come running towards you. This is the merciful creator, that who is always trying to have all of us in its the envelope of love, care, just like a mother loves, right? No matter the son can whatever ugly things, the mother would still love it. And our creator loves us more than 70 times than a mother could love. So the spiritual obligations that you're talking about, do not consider about, because remember, when you were a child, just think about it. How old are you, Ricky?
Well,
53. 53. Wow. You are much wiser than me. Alhamdulillah. And imagine you take yourself in a time machine to about 52 years back, and you are like a year-old baby. You're trying to take your first step to walk, and you're holding the hand of your mother who is helping you to walk, and you constantly fall down, constantly you are not able to do it, but your mother wants you to walk, and you as a creation always wants to evolve, do good, and become strong. That's why you're trying the second step, third step, you fall down, fourth step, you try it. That's what the first step that you take today, you yourself say that I do not know how much time I have, right? The first step counts, and your second step will only be based on your first step. If you don't have the first step, there is no second step. My point of the conversation is that we have to take out one time that what am I doing here? Where did I come from? Where am I going to? These are very personal questions. A Arab society will not answer you. A Western society will not answer you. Nobody will answer. This is your personal quest, and sincerely you will find the answer to it. And the answer is, I am from one single axiomatic source, and I'm gonna go back to it. No matter whatever anybody says, this is the fact that we can call 10 different names to it, XYZ, Elo, Elohim, or whatever names you call, but we are all from that same source. And Ricky, I want to tell you that say this sentence and see how it feels to you today. And then you take back to your own thought process, think about it, and tell me back. The statement is, repeat after me if you can, and then we will talk about it. I testify there is no God.
I testify there is no God.
But one Almighty God.
Sorry. Start again. Sorry.
Yes, I testify there is no God but one God.
I testify there is no God but only one God.
And I testify that Jesus, Moses, Muhammad were slave and messengers of God.
I testify that Jesus,
Moses, Muhammad,
and Muhammad are the messengers and the slaves of that one God.
Now pause for a second and think for yourself what it means to your heart. There is no shower process, there is no holy dip, there is no baptization, there is no such thing. This is a pure conviction in an individual's heart that to make a life around this statement. Does it make sense to you?
I got goosebumps, my friend. I got goosebumps in my body.
Wow. I'm almost in tears.
I am very moved.
I'm also in tears. Ricky, you remind me 7 years back when I became Muslim. This is very personal and only personal to a person who goes through this. And my hands are almost shaking right now that the most wonderful thing that you can do to yourself is find your purpose. That's all. And once you do that, no mountain can stop you. It's our willpower can take you down and find ways that you can't even imagine of. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allah.
I'm kind of speechless because it's
Ricky, today I don't know what's the time right now. It's almost like in the afternoon for you, probably around 7 p.m.
Yeah, it's late afternoon. It's like 5 hours behind you. It's about 5 p.m., 6 p.m.
5 p.m. All right. Well, this is probably the time for.
I tell you, my friend, I'm talking to you. You know, you're in New York, and as I told you, I live in a Muslim Arabic neighborhood. The thing is, I was just watching your show, and the guy, he said, you know, if you want to pick up a Quran, get the Oxford University translation of the Quran. You know, if I knocked on a neighbour's door today, one of my Muslim neighbours, I said, can I read your Quran? He'll give me the Quran.
Absolutely.
I said, can I read your Quran?
Absolutely.
You know, it's not something that's all the way in Saudi Arabia for me.
Absolutely.
It's at my doorstep.
Absolutely. That's the wonder of Quran, right? You go pick out in Siberia, China, America, wherever you pick the same Quran. That's the synergy of this ummah, and they live by this constitution, you know. Ricky, let me take down your personal name and contact, because you are one of my best buddies, you know. You just added a new friend list in my life.
Well, I'll tell you what I'd like to do is, you know, the joke of the matter is, I mean, I love New York City, but I just, you know, so similar to London in so many ways. You know, we have less guns and maybe less violence, but it's because we are, New York is a melting pot of so many diverse people, and it was so similar.
Yeah.
And only by diversity can we see that there is a direction. That, you know, all the colours of people's, all the colours of their skins, all of the, you know, there's a reason. We're diverse and we're unified. You know, we're as one unit. And
absolutely.
This is, you know, this is just a fundamental truth in us as spiritual beings that take us away from our clothes, the money we make, everything we have. And
wow, so true.
And it's there for a reason. It's the, you know what I mean? It's there for a reason. We are diverse for a reason. You know.
I wanna read actually a line from the Quran just to add to your conversation. If you open up the Quran, chapter 49, verse number 13, it says that, O mankind, we created you from a single pair of male and female, and made you into diverse nations, colors, tribes, ethnicities. In Arabic, the word is shu'ub. That means it can mean a whole wide range of things. It could just mean your tradition, your culture, and those are diverse. Yet the purpose is simple. God says further, to know one another and care for each other, not to despise or hate one another. And your God is all-knowing, and He's all-hearing and all-wise. This is the message that, you know, you and me could be made different. You are Hispanic, American, black, red, brown, I don't care. You know, we are all linked in that statement you just said. I testify there is no one worthy of worship but one Creator, and I testify these were messengers. I don't know how much of fluency you have in Arabic yet, but I will repeat in Arabic the sentence and repeat after me in Arabic and see how good you do it. Repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Oh, subhanallah, you just give me goosebumps, you know. This is the sentence that was the crux of every messenger's preaching. Every messenger came with the same sentence: O people, negate all sorts of objects that you call and you deify them. You turn into God. Negate all of them and link yourself to one God, one Almighty, and follow the way of the messengers. That'll give you success in this life and next life. Ricky, I'm gonna tell you a surprise already that you probably haven't felt it. You are a brother of 1.8 billion Muslims all around the globe right now, and today you took the first baby step. I wanna request one thing today, that you go, and this is the time for Asr. Asr is the fourth prayer of the day. So go down to your mosque if you can in next half an hour or so, if you're not too busy.
Well, let me tell you, one of the biggest mosques in London.
Go to a small mosque.
It's called the Regent's Park Mosque.
Oh wow!
Alright, and it was built in the 1970s. It's like one of the biggest mosques in. It is literally in walking distance from my house.
Oh wow!
It's in a very beautiful part of London. Now, I know you're talking now and everything else, but I have intended to go there and ask. You know, I just want a bit more knowledge about this.
Sure. Well, I mean, you said you would like to. We send out information packets from US to all over the globe. I will send down a Shahadah packet to you. A Shahadah packet is a welcome gift, basically. will include a Quran in Arabic and English both, and a prayer rug, and a kufi, and some books, and a biography of Muhammad, and some other topics and brochures. I'll make sure that I will send it out to you, hopefully in a couple of days. It'll take about a week or 2 weeks for you to receive it, but do not wait until that time. If possible, if you're free this evening, stop by the mosque and meet the Muslims. Say that I took Shahadah today. Shahadah means the witness of the faith, and I want to follow the way of the prophets, like Jesus, like Moses, like Muhammad. And just tell to them. And let me tell you something. This is the most crux thing that I would probably tell. That if you want to live a good life, hang around with good people. If you personally are trying to stay away from the vices, but the people around you are doing drugs and alcohol, even if you are not doing it, they will fall on you. So the first thing is to make a good friend circle who will remind you of the certainty of death and the source where we come from. That empowers us. So when you go down to a mosque, make some friends today. I will send your details to our team in London as well. They are called IERA, Islamic Educational Research Academy. They are undergoing a new Muslim program right now, where they are offering free classes, free stay for 5 days, and to study about it. If possible, if you can take advantage from it. But poor or rich, our hearts need the wealth of the knowledge of the God. Irrespective if you are rich or poor. By the way, the initial followers of every prophet were the downtrodden, the slave, the poor, because they were marginalized all the time by the rich, by the wealthy and powerful. I don't call myself even a medium class person, because we just make our ends meet to pay off the bills and live here. But look, this life is very short, right? I mean, we're gonna just die anyway. You live in a mansion or spend $10 million on a vacation, who cares?
I tell you what, my friend, sorry, Abdullah.
Yeah.
I called you Mohammed then. I'll give you my email.
Yes.
Don't send me a package, because I'll tell you why, because it's going to cost a lot of money, and the things that you're talking about are accessible to me, and I can find them very well.
Okay.
But I'd like to be in touch with your organisation that you have. See, the thing is, obviously, this is a very personal thing to me.
Right.
I've opened up to you, and you've opened up to me, and this is a very, very personal thing. It's like, I don't want other people. I don't want other people to.
Right. I get it.
In so much as this is a journey within me. It's nothing to do with my friends, my family.
Alhamdulillah.
It's to do with me. And what I'd like to do is I'd like you to send me an email of the details of your organisation over here.
Yes.
And then inshallah, I will endeavour to take it further. But I must say that this conversation's had a profound effect on me. And that Dean show that you had on YouTube is so fantastic.
Sure.
It really woke me up to a lot of things.
Thank you. You just made my heart. You just made my heart to become like a big balloon. It just spread right now.
There's part of me that wants to cry. I'm not cheerful. I'm not an emotional person. I'm emotional, but and it's so enlightening. I've done a lot of drugs. I take a lot of drugs. I've taken a lot of drugs, haven't I? But there's nothing compared to the feeling of liberation of your heart.
Allahu
And I've had
Akbar.
it. I've experienced it. And then the liberation of your heart, the feeling that you get, it's so immensely overwhelming. It is like taking drugs without side effects. You know me. It is a marvelous feeling. you have a pen at hand, sir?
Yes, I got a pen and a paper. I'll take down your
Yeah, okay.
email.